The Tears of Gaia by Redback Spino. Chapter 16. The Flit. Truth be told, Morgoth had not the best of weeks. His platoon had been patrolling the countryside for nearly a month, with little to no success. A few captives had been turned to them, yes, but only a few. Other than that, they had been killed in the struggle or fled, and when opportunity finally came his way, when he spied those 6 little ponies wandering about the plains, they had run him and his soldiers ragged. What they carried, the mysterious Tears of Gaia, would have been all he needed to carry out his dark plan. But it would never be easy. Sure, he had captured them in the end, but lost 4 of them in the process. 3 captives out of 7, and none of them had the tears. Still, Morgoth liked to think that very little could truly get him down. So he made the best of it. His troops brought the 3 little ponies to the outpost of Monthill. Then the deer showed up. Were he not frozen stiff with fear, he would have screamed to the heavens, cursing the name of the deer folk for eternity. But that would have to wait. For while he felt anger, triumph, and frustration all the while this old ordeal had begun, this was the first time he felt true terror. He prostrated himself on the floor on his quarters in Monthill, as all around him flowed and flickered a miasma of darkness. Swirling ink dripped into a cup of water. It blacked out all the windows and extinguished all lights in the room, until the only respite in the blackness was 2 yellow eyes that glared down the Blightling's form. "They are gone," it said. Morgoth could only nod silently. "Escape!" Licking his lips nervously, he answered, "Yes." The furious glare of the yellow eyes dimmed slightly as the voice sighed. "Oh, Morgoth, our dear son, we must confess ourselves disappointed." I know, my lord. "We were easy on you when you lost those ponies, Morgoth. You lost the magical weapon, and that would have ensured our absolute rule. But we were lenient. We gave you a second chance, and you still failed," the voice continued. "You would propose a trade to their friends, you told us. Their life, well-being, for now their friends have slipped from your grip." "Well, to be honest, sire," Morgoth stammered, they didn't exactly escape alone. The deer folk— "I do not want to hear your excuses!" The Blything withered and tried his best to cower even lower as the voice riled the tempers of the room. "It is clear you could not be relied upon, Morgoth. This must be rectified. Please, sire, just give me one more chance. I swear upon my life, I will get those ponies back, and I will get their weapon, and when I do, I will personally take it to Brasaka myself. I swear it!" Morgoth started all in one breath. The voice replied, in an almost tender voice, "Morgoth, my son, please, do not think so little of us. Do you think we would dispose of such of our own so easily, foolish child? No, I would not dispose of you. However, since you cannot be relied upon to lead your soldiers yourself, I will send a new commander to help you, one that will bring you in to keep you on schedule." "But, my lord—" "You and your others are confined to Monthill for the time being, Morgoth," the voice went on. "I will send another of my officers from Brasaka. Tushlata is his name. He will do you good." Morgoth did not let his face betray it, but within he was fuming. "Another officer? The lord over me? Unthinkable! Shameful! Morgoth does not bow to any beast, boy or otherwise. This Tushlata would have to deal with themselves as soon as possible." "We're making ourselves clear?" He nodded. "Yes, very clear, sire." "Remember this," the voice growled. "If you fail us in any other way to hinder our plan, Tushlata and his soldiers die with you. So it will be in his best interest that you do not." "That is ours." With that, the blackness vanished, leaving Morgoth alone. As he got up, legs shaking, there was a timid knock on the door. "Enter!" he barked, and Laga pushed the door open. He bowed low. "So, sire, how did it go?" Not even turning to face him, Morgoth sighed again. "Not too well, Laga. The higher-ups got wind of our little escapees. You're sending one of their officers out here to take control." "A new guy from Brasaka?" Laga spat. "He won't last a week out here." "Not quite," Morgoth replied. "They're sending over Tushlata and his boys." Laga paused as he felt his chest clench. "Tushlata? Are you sure that's what they said?" Blything nodded.
Positive. He'll probably be here in a day or so, depending on how fast he arrives.
That's not good. I've heard stories about that guy. Well, I guess we better start expanding the outpost if we're going to have another whole platoon moving in.
Markov nodded.
Yes, very good.
Markov bowed again and turned to leave, but he was about to close the door. He paused.
We're not really going to let the Shalatos crowd take us over, are we?
His commander smiled a mysterious smile, revealing rows of pointed teeth. A plan was already forming in his mind.
Of course not. We will see what he wants us to do and work around it. The trick of it being a good commander, Laga. Be like water, ever adapting to meet change, ever in flux, never using the same pen twice.
That's why you're our commander, sir,
Laga said, closing the door behind him.
How does it look up there, Miss Pie?
Pinky thumped the stone and wooden barricade around the vizier with satisfaction as he called down, "Sturdy as a rock, Star Swirl!"
No, that might be because it is rock mostly.
As the stone rose high above the mountains, the 4 ponies clambered down from the high walls around the town. True to their word, after a good night's sleep, they came across the town's defenses, ready to help the dozen or so griffins who were assigned to maintain the pitted and scarred walls. They hauled buckets of rubble to the top to fill in the gaps, nailed down the boards to repave the walkway to the top, and generally shored up the walls. As Twilight walked around the base of the wall, inspecting it for any potential weak points, Galahad approached, a tray in his claws laden with drinks.
A fine day's work, ponies. I thought you would do with some refreshment.
"Thanks, Galahad," Twilight replied, eagerly taking a drink. "Anything to get that taste of that soup out of my mouth."
Chicken soup, unbelievable,
muttered Rarity, as he wiped a bead of sweat from her brow.
Imagine if Fluttershy had been here. The poor dear would have probably gone into convulsions.
Galahad sleeplessly scratched the ground.
Apologies. I'd warned you if I knew you didn't eat meat.
It's all right, Gally,
Pinky replied, as he bounced down from the scaffold.
New experiences are what adventures like these are all about.
Though, if I may be so blunt, Starswell added, for me, this is one of those experiences that, now that I've experienced it first, I need to never experience it again.
I'll put word around town. Make sure none of the vendors sell you anything with meat in it. Galahad said. "Thanks," Twilight replied, before stretching her limbs. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready for lunch. Shall we?
Aye, my dear Twilight, we shall.
The 4 ponies bade Galahad good day and took the path to the 5th level of town. As they walked, they chatted about the day's work.
I gotta say, Rarity, I never expected to see you hauling rocks and working like that back there.
Pinky nodded aloud. Rarity chuckled. Well, one's food does tend to taste better when one has wet foot. Besides, it's not as if I was all that clean and tidy before. She does have a point, though, Twilight added. It's only been a few weeks since we started this whole thing, but I've noticed that we've all gotten a bit leaner.
Leaner?
Rarity echoed, looking herself over. Yes, I suppose so. More toned, more athletic. Though I don't know if I want to be too muscular. It can lead to rather unsightly stretch marks if not masculinity, you know. Pinky playfully nudged her.
Don't worry, Rarity. You might be a little bit leaner, but you're still as pretty as always.
Their banter went back and forth as the ponies reached the 4th level of town. They sat back down at a small table by a food stall. Dozens of griffins sat, laid, or hovered all around them, seeing to their own lunches before heading back to their work. Ordering their food, after assurance from the vendor that their food was meat-free, they dined in relative peace. At least, until a certain griffin sat down to join his friends at a nearby table.
Good afternoon, ponies,
Geller called, emphasizing the sick word.
Sleep well?
Twilight nodded, a bit stiffly. Yes, we did. Thank you. The griffin nodded.
Didn't you not say you were from Canterlot? Well, glad to hear our humble accommodation was satisfactory to your refined taste.
The griffins at his table chuckled, along with his friend's little quip. Twilight, Rarity, and Starswell could do nothing but frown.
Actually, we're from Ponyville, Pinkie Pie called back with a wave. Well, most of us anyway. Twilight Sparkle lived here with Carolot for a while before moving to Ponyville, but Starswell was from Carolot.
I see,
Carolot nodded.
I heard you four were helping down the walls today. Good to hear.
Rarity was taken aback, replied,
Oh, no, thank you, sir.
Though, I hope they didn't have you doing all the heavy lifting for them, Earth Pony. I know how unicorns tend to avoid manual labor and hard work and all that.
Twilight made to rise, her mane bristling with anger. But Starswirl was quick to pull her back down.
No, not my dear Twilight. Paid him no heed.
Killer grinned as he saw the frowns on the ponies' faces.
Listen to your mentor, unicorn. Sit yourself back down.
His cronies laughed and sneered loudly as the 4 ponies returned to their seats. The rest of their meal was eaten in frosty silence, as each tried their hardest not to listen to Geller's biting remarks. Raising from unicorn snobbery and aristocracy, the Earth Pony didn't witness. The Griffin Commander left no stereotype unspoken. But the ponies remained silent and unflinching, refusing to give in to his remarks. He even called the unicorns narwhals! A well-aimed farrow of bread, on the other hand, was not so easy to ignore.
Oops, my bad.
The griffins all around could no longer contain themselves, and fell about in laughter, while Twilight, Starskull, and Pinkie looked nervously at Rarity, who was still as a statue, the farrow of bread firmly stuck in the tip of her horn.
Really? Are you going to eat that?
Pinkie timidly asked, desperate for something to lighten the mood. But no avail. Rarity stood up from the table, her body quivering, except for the ears, which stood ramrod straight. Her horn began to glow silvery blue, and the bread roll slid off her horn to hover in midair. Geller and cronies were too busy laughing to themselves to notice, as the fall of bread whizzed through the air like a bullet, finally coming to a stop, impaled on Geller's sharp beak. The laughter stopped. The street fell silent, punctuated only by the sounds of Rarity's footsteps, as he angrily stopped over to Geller and stared squarely into his eyes.
I have just about enough of you, sir!
She shouted in his face. Twilight rose to her head. Rarity! What in the Equestria are you doing? The noise seemed to break some griffins out of their stunned stupor. His two armed guards swooped over to grab Rarity by her forelegs. Get your claws off me! She shrieked, struggling in grip. I have something to say to you, Gothut! The griffin blinked, coming back to reality. With a waving motion, he dismissed the two guards, who released the unicorn. You may speak, Ross!
Oh, may I, sir? Rarity sneered. Well, thank you very much. How kind of you. Now, you listen to me, Commander Gellet. My friends and I have been nothing short of courteous and kind to you and your people since we have arrived in town, and most of the griffins here have been nothing short of kind to us, except you. You have insulted us, abused us, and to top it all off, implied that I lack ambition. Now, the noble and strong griffins of this town may have grown used to your brutish ways, but I say no more!
Rarity! Twilight tried to pull her frail unicorn back, but no avail. She had been correct in her observation that Rarity had grown leaner since the beginning of their journey, considerably stronger and sturdier too.
Calm down, dear. What on earth are you getting so worked up about?
Garrett asked, not batting an eyelid at Rarity's tirade.
Don't you call me dear, you blowhard!
Rarity shouted. I'm taking you up on the 3S challenge! Oh. Talk about a cloud clearer. Her words echoed through the street, drawing nothing but rapt attention from every griffin and pony present. There was a tense silence again for a moment, until it was broken by Geller's first golfing.
Ha! A pony wants to challenge me to the 3Fs. Me, Commander Geller right here, and a man no less!
He laughed, and a few of his cohorts laughed along with him. Rarity remained staring, unflinchingly at the Griffin Commander.
Tell me, Commander, does it say anywhere in the rules that a mare cannot compete in the challenge?
Well, no, not exactly, but...
Now then, I challenge you, Gellet.
Rarity interrupted. She reared up, the problem on his barrel chest.
Do you accept, or are you too cowardly to take on a dear little mare like myself? Ding!
Cowardly. That's the secret word of the day. Geller frowned, banging her upside.
Don't you dare call me a coward, Ross! I accept your challenge.
A hush murmured went through the crowd. Geller raised a claw into the air and shouted in a booming voice.
Ladies and gentlemen of Icia, hear me! This mare has sentenced me to the contest of the 3Fs, and let it be known that I have accepted her challenge.
A cheer went up for the griffins around, as the three ponies could only watch in horror as the scene unfolded. Geller gave an evil grin towards Rarity as he continued.
And let it be known that the first contest, the fifth, shall be taking place in the main square on the 3rd level at sunset today!
Rarity's eyes went wide.
Today, but you can't!
My competition, my rules, Geller replied with a wink. I'll see you there.
Rarity nodded, and headed back to the stall as the crowds of griffins swamped around her and Geller, eager to get a look at the comparators. She was quick to wave off and return to the table, where the other ponies stared at her with slack jaws.
Rarity,
Twilight said in a fake voice.
what were you thinking?
Rarity daintily took a sip of her drink, calmly replying,
I was thinking that I had quite enough of his bullying. He is a braggart and a brute. and I was to take him down up a real pig or two. Pinky clapped her on the back. That's awesome, Rarity! Standing up for yourself like that, it's great!
I will not celebrate too soon, Pinkie Pie. Starswell countered. Think about what Miss Rarity has gotten herself into. She is now going to have to outbrag, out-eat, and outfight a full-grown griffin.
This was easier said than done, yes, Rarity replied. But if that is what it takes to make him respect us while we're here, then I will do what I must.
Twilight groaned and put her head on the table. This is ridiculous! Rainbow Dash, Applejack, and Fluttershy are out there somewhere, waiting for us to find them. I'm sorry, but we can't put aside that just so you can uphold your pride, Rarity! Starswell lowered his head to her level. I would not be so quick to judge, my dear Twilight. I think I could see how we could work this to our advantage.
How?
Well, if you recall, the other reward for defeating Geller in the challenges is not only his respect, but also command of his soldiers. A small offering of griffins on our side would do wonders for our search, yes?
I guess so, Twilight muttered. But how can we win this? You heard him, Starswirl. You have to beat Gellert, of all griffins! And the first contest is later today.
Rarity stood up and brushed herself down.
Then it's probably a good idea to get to work. How about we find somewhere a little quieter to talk?
The four ponies agreed, and as they walked through the streets to one of the lower levels of town, discussing the upcoming flit. It was obvious that news traveled faster for here, as all along the trip, Griffiths called out to Rarity, giving some words of support, some mocking the very idea of competing with her. And as he listened, Rarity learned a vital, if a rather obvious weakness of Gellert's, his pride. And so, when they found a small courtyard that was practically empty, the four ponies sat down and discussed Rarity's strategy.
It's obvious you can't take Gellert head to head. No offense, but even as you are now, he still beat you every time you did that,
Twilight said.
Rarity shook her head. Not take it, Twilight. I quite agree. I do have an image to maintain. No, instead of throwing insults at him willy-nilly, I shall instead remain calm and collective, turn his own insults back at him.
Pinkie was warming up to the idea.
Yeah, like a karate match! If you can't beat the other pony down, then let him come down to you. Then, when he's about to lay out to you, hi-ya! Use his own strength against him.
Well put, Pinkie Pie, Starswell said with a nod, though I am unsure as to exactly what karate is. But her point still stands. Use Gellert's insults and turn them against him. The griffins might pride their strength and power, but a sharp wit is praised by all creatures.
Sounds like it could actually work. If nothing else, we can at least win the first contest. But, Rarity, do you know any particularly strong, what's the word, zingers? Twilight asked.
Pinkie frantically waved her hoof in the air.
Oh, I do! You do?
Rarity was taken aback.
Sure, I went to a comedy festival in Baltimore a few years ago, and stand-up comedians need to know how to do some singers to deal with the hecklers and tough crowds. I picked up a few good ones. I'll teach them to you.
And so, the four ponies spent the entire afternoon in the courtyard, working out the unicorn's plan for attack. Pinkie Pie did indeed teach Rarity an assortment of comebacks and singers for a variety of situations that may be thrown her way. And all the while, Rarity practiced her image, maintaining her composure as the dignified and calm unicorn she liked to present herself as. Even as Pinkie Pie threw one cruel jibe after another at her, it dished out strongly as she received. By the time the sun hovered just over the horizon, crowds had already gathered at the third level. In the middle of the square was a large ring with a white rope, split down the middle by another rope. As the four ponies approached, they saw the crowds of griffins cheering on Gellert, who stood on one end of the ring, casually inspecting his wing feathers, accusingly giving a confident nod or wink to an admiring onlooker. But among the crowd cheering on Myers, there were a few silent faces, who frowned at the enormous griffin. Okay, everybody listening to this, I want you to go to your MP3 player or open up another tab to the YouTube page and bring out the good, bad, and the ugly. I'll wait. Got it? Good. Let's continue. All the griffins turned to face the four ponies as they approached. Twilight, Starswirl, and Pinkie halted a moment, slightly cowed by the sudden attention, but Rarity kept walking, her eyes never leaving Gellert for a second. The others followed her example and pushed their way through the crowd until they stood at the edge of the ring. A rather small, stocky old griffin took to the air, flying in a circle above the ring. Clearing his throat, he shouted in a booming voice that shook the foundations of the house of every level. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one and all to the 3S Challenge! The griffins cheered and whooped as he continued in a slightly calmer voice. For any newcomers, this is a series of 3 competitions between Commander Gellert of Ahia and any bird who wishes to challenge him. The contests are Flit, Feast, and the Fight. In the best of 3 wins a grand prize of command over the town's army. Garrett let dice with Rarity across from the wing, giving a cocky wink. Rarity gave him a merciless nod in return. The rules of the flit are simple. Contestants must stand in their individual sections of the ring. No physical contact allowed. They must exchange insults, and one after another, until one is so insulted they cannot insult back. Are both the contestants ready? Gallagher confidently strode into the ring, stood in his own sector. Ready. Rarity turned to her three friends. They nodded encouragingly back. Pinky even attempted to give a thumbs up, despite the lack of thumbs. So he did, on the other hand, had a weird foam finger, borrowed from Lyra. Just stick to the strategies, Rarity. Good luck. The White Unicorn took a deep, calming breath, entered the ring. Her nerve was bolstered as she heard a few confident cheers from not only her friends, but a few voices around the ring. Ready, sir.
Then let's begin!
The portly Griffin flew back down to stand by the side of the ring at the halfway point. Gilroy was the first to step forward, cracking his knuckles and launching into his first insults.
Well, my friends. We have here before us a rather unusual challenger. A simple little unicorn and a mare no less. Tell me, Master Rarity, were your parents so low-born they never taught you to show respect to your elders and betters?
The crowd laughed as all eyes turned to Rarity, eagerly waiting her response. The unicorns calmly stepped forward and replied, Ahem. Indeed they did teach me that. They also taught me not to waste respect on rude little children. There was a sharp intake of breath from around, as well as a few oohs. Geller frowned a moment, but laughed it off.
Huh! I think some pony needs to get their eyes checked. Otherwise, this deluded little mare will realize that a grown adult stands before her. An adult demands respect.
Well, maybe if you acted like one, you'd get the respect you claim to deserve.
Vanity countered. The ooh count grew as Geller frowned again.
Ha! You might think you have a chance, but things will be different at this fight. Just looking at you now, I can see you're no fire. More of a dairy farmer, perhaps.
A round of guffawing and hooting went around the circle, but Rarity did not waver.
I fight like a dairy farmer. Well, that seems appropriate. By the way, you throw your weight around and chew your food. Not to mention your order, you probably fight like a cow.
The hooting and hollering not only grew louder at the smart comeback, even Rarity and even Twilight Sparkle couldn't help but grin.
Nicely done, Rarity!
Pinky called.
Indeed,
Sparkle replied. It seems that she learned well.
Geller was swift on the rebound. But your bill is nothing compared to your brain. It's so small, it can fit in a nutshell, along with 3 raises and a list of your greatest achievements.
Another cheer from the crowd. Rarity's eyes twitched ever so slightly, but she took another deep breath and recalled a particular comeback Pinky taught her.
Well, now, that insult does rather cover quite a bit of ground. You know, you cover a bit of ground too, you big brute. You be super careful. I've heard rumors that they plan to tear you down and build a shopping center.
The Griffin growled a response, waiting for the whooping and tearing to die down.
Tell me, with a face like yours, have you ever been considered for a male?
There was a long ooh from the crowd as they waited with bated breath on Rarity's comeback. The comeback they all knew was coming. The comeback that was so cliched and yet so perfect.
I don't know. Have you?
That's point for Rarity! As he did not disappoint, the Griffins went wild in laughter and cheering, some even whooping into the sky with glee. Pinky cheered loudest of all. Geller paced up and down his half of the ring, glaring daggers at the unicorn. As he waited for the crowd to die down, he breathed deep into his regain his composure, deciding to take a similar, aloof, and distant approach.
Honestly, I don't even know why I bothered taking you up on your challenge. No bird has ever beat me, so why should some inbred, snooty, little filly have any chance? A pathetic, crook-painted penguin like you isn't worth the skin off of my knuckles!
Well, maybe if you didn't drag your knuckles on the ground so much, you would have some skin to spare,
she replied. The Griffins cheered and laughed as Rarity politely bowed her head to the ground, ever maintaining her calm facade. As her confidence rose, she added,
You know, you should really retire from commanding and find yourself a nice girl, or at least someone who could teach you the meaning of respect and courtesy. Because you, sir, have the manners of a homeless beggar.
Well, I just wanted to make you feel a little more home at all.
Rarity could almost feel herself reeling for the insult. The crowd cheered and laughed as Gellert regained some of his confidence. Pinky covered her face with her hoods.
Oh no! Now they switched places! Now he's giving comebacks. This is bad. This is really, really bad!
Of course, Pinky, Starswell muttered. You taught her well.
Certainly she has some chops to spell.
Rarity hesitated a moment. For every second he was silent, the crowd cheered more and more in Gellert's favor. Then everybody sighed and watched her expectantly, and Rarity started to panic. Her calm image was beginning to crack. Then she remembered another classic Pinky taught her. It wasn't a killer, but it could buy her time. Calmly walking along the defying line in the ring, she chuckled aloud to herself.
You know, it must be fascinating to be in that little mind of yours. So determined in your firm deluded belief that you're likable. I dare say I would love to see things from your perspective.
She stopped her pacing and turned back on her host and faced Geller with a confident smile.
But I'm not flexible enough to stick my head quite that far in my own rump.
The Griffins and the ponies burst into laughter and cheering again, plenty of oohs and a handful of zings, and then even a booyah or two. Rarity breathed a sigh of relief. She was back in this. Point Rarity!
Better be careful,
Geller growled, stopping right up to the line, puffing out his chest and glaring down at Rarity.
I'll admit you got quite a foul mouth on you, but if you keep it at that, you foul, you'll either get executed for insulting the wrong person at the wrong time, or die from some horrible infection.
Rarity paused a moment as he let the enthusiastic crowd reactions die down. She had the perfect comeback. It restored to the lowest of the low, but absolutely crippling. However, it needed a perfect delivery. She turned her back on Gellert, facing Twilight, Starstorm, and Pinky, who all looked back at her with bated breath. She smiled at them, turned back to Gellert with a nonchalant smile on her face.
Yes, well, that depends on one small thing, my dear Gellert.
She muttered as she crossed the ring, slowly, leisurely, until she was face to face with the enormous Griffin.
That would all depend on whether I were to embrace your way of life.
She leaned in closely until her face was so close to Gellert's that the referee had to get up and join them to make sure they were not touching.
Or your mother.
You could hear a pin drop. For a second, it felt like an eternity. The entire square was as silent as the grave. The eyes of every Griffin and pony expecting went wide to stare in place, and a few saws a gate. Then the audience exploded! Griffins flew all about the air, crashing into each other, hooting and shrieking with laughter. It's down on the ground. The entire audience was in absolute pandemonium. Audience members were wiping tears of laughter from their eyes. Even Twilight, Starstorm, and Pinkie Pie could not help but cheer at the absolute bite of Rarity's comeback. Cries of burn and zing and booyah and ho flew thick and fast. The only one who was silent was Rarity, who stepped back to admire her work, smiling deviously at her opponent, and Gellert. The Griffin was shaking all over. He clawed his forelegs balled into his fists, his eyes wide and glaring murderously at the unicorn. With a snarl, he stepped over the white line and stared straight for Rarity, whose confident grin slipped a few notches as he saw him approach. Hold up! Luckily for her, the referee slipped in to stand between the two. His claws went wide. He stared at Gellert. You crossed the line and violated the rules. For this, you are immediately and without room for debate disqualified! Gellert tried to sputter without a response, turning his furious gaze from Rarity to the referee and back, even looking abhorrently about the audience, but no such response came. With one final snarl, he turned on his heel and stormed down the ring. The winner, by default, is Rarity, the Unicorn!
That's Rarity Bell, my good sir.
I'm sorry, Rarity Bell. The referee's announcement was met with cheering, applause, and whistling from all sides as Griffins rushed to the ring, crowding around Rarity and hoisting her up on her shoulders. That night, there was little sleep for any of the ponies, or Griffins, as they threw Rarity and the ponies an impromptu victory party. There was plenty of food to go around, and Griffins and ponies danced together to bouncing upbeat music and played on fiddles, guitars, drums, accordions, flutes, and even a set of Highland bagpipes. Cool. After thanking her dancing partner, a blushing, bright-eyed little Griffin lad, and taking her leave as the song ended, Rarity took a seat on an unoccupied table, grabbing a glass of cool water. As much as she enjoyed the party being thrown in her honor, it was a tad overwhelming. As she drank, she spotted some Griffins who were not celebrating her victory. A small group of Griffins, Geller's entourage from earlier today, were sulking around the far table, murmuring amongst themselves, and throwing her an occasional hate-filled glance. She put on a winning smile and waved a hoof to them, at which point she quickly pretended not to be glaring at her and returned to sulking. Hermione returned to the contest, and her final crippling blow to Gellert's ego. It had felt incredibly satisfying and exhilarating for both her and to this audience member to take that bullhard a peg or two. But she could not feel certainly bad for him. Not only because she had humiliated him in front of all of his people, but because of his face when she had spoken her final insult. There was indignant anger, no different from the other insults. There was something else. It was the only time he had looked genuinely hurt his feelings. That thought alone made the victory feel somewhat hollow. She wanted to bring him down to earth, but not upset him. And this is why you're the element of generosity, Rarity. Never change. Getting up from her table, she eased her way through the partying throng until she found Galahad, twirling and dancing with her pony friends. Ah! There you are, Rarity! Congratulations on your victory today.
Thank you, Galahad,
Rarity replied, as she watched Twilight dancing rather badly with an equally awkwardly dancing Star Swirl.
I swear, is bad dancing a trait among powerful unicorn mazes? Anyway, I've you seen Gellert around? I haven't seen him since the contest ended.
Oh, that big baby's probably just found some quiet corner in the castle to sulk. Don't worry about him, Galahad said, jumping out of the way of Pinkie Pie, who was bouncing and kicking away to the music, leaving the most inexperienced girlfriend dancer in the dust. Rarity sighed.
That's a shame. I did want to find him. At least commend him for a good contest. Not to mention, I do feel kind of bad for humiliating him like this. I at least want to see if he's alright.
Galahad chuckled and took another swing from his goblet. I wouldn't worry too much. He's just not used to you getting such a beatdown as you gave him. He'll bounce back to his usual bragging self by tomorrow morning. Now come, Miss Rarity. May I have this dance? Giving over his arm to Rarity, though she hesitated at first, wanting to go out and find Gellert, Rarity could not resist the atmosphere of the party. She relented and took his arm.
Why, Mr. Galahad, it would be my pleasure.